Hello and welcome to Talking About Necrons. I'm God Smasher Bot, and today I'll be going through Necron Overlords. That was a mouthful. So, Necron Overlords. You'll find them on page 30 of your codex if you want all the lore and stuff. It also goes through Necron Lords, but I'll be doing them in a separate video for the very good reason of there is a whole page devoted in the army list bit, which is devoted to the Necron Royal Court. Royal Court is a big retinue thing where you can buy up to 5 lords and up to 5 cryptics, and either have them as one big squad for an overlord to lead them, or you can detach all of its units and separate them to lead other units. It's a very nice option to have, and a lot of the time you'll want to take, if you're taking an overlord, or one of the characters that can also count as an overlord and can take a royal court, you'll want to take it purely for the option of supporting your other troops, if nothing else. However, there is a lot to it. I'll probably devote a separate video, quite a long separate video, to just going over the regular basic lords, your regular Necron lords as opposed to the overlords, because there is a difference now, and cryptics, and how they work with the royal court. So, for this video though, I'll just be going over overlords. I'll go over destroy lords as well, because. So, your overlord is 90 points. He has roughly the stat line of that the Necron Lord had from the previous codex, which is a kind of a cop-out, really. I mean, he's this big, beefy overlord. Essentially, he's like a lord in power armor or Terminator armor or something. Just strutting about and carving crap up in close combat. Yeah, I'm kind of annoyed that they didn't just like improve his stat line a bit more, so like give him an extra attack or an extra weapon skill or ballistic skill or something. But as it stands, he has weapon skill, ballistic skill 4, strength and toughness 5, 3 wounds, a 3-up save, leadership 10, 3 attacks, and an initiative of 2. Everything has initiative 2 in this codex. Absolutely everything. It is probably the biggest pain of this codex. Actually, I'm looking at it here, and there's only 2 models, 2 unit choices, which have an initiative of more than 2. That is Catan Shards, who are upwards of 100, of like 200 points. Yeah, 205 points at least for a Catan Shard. Or Orakan the Diviner, once he gets his special rules come into play, which only happens like once or twice a game. So I'm kind of annoyed at Matt Ward for that. Bloody Matt Ward. The regular Necron Lord has a very similar stat line. It's pretty much identical, apart from he has 1 wound instead of 3 and 2 attacks instead of 3. So, other than that, they're pretty much very similar. They get pretty much all the same war gear options, bar a couple. But Necron Lords are only available as part of the Royal Court. So, for those of you who don't have an Overlord yet, you will need an Overlord, or one of the new resin models, or a Destroyer Lord. Or there's an Overlord in the Catacomb Command Barge kit, which is a very nice option, because for £20.50, I think it is, you get an Overlord in that set, plus a Command Barge, which is a very nice option. Or you could, if you don't want the Command Barge, you can just turn it into an Annihilation Barge, which is a very nice shooting platform. So, yeah, you get 2 units there. Very nice choice. It's not quite as beefy looking or pretty as the resin Overlord model, which has to be said, is very nice looking. But it's a nice option if you want to, say, be a bit more cost effective. I mean, it's hard to be cost effective with Games Workshop prices, but then it's a nice option. Anyway, back to Overlords. So, they are infantry, brackets character. So they count as a character for anything which specifically targets a character. They have a Staff of Light as their basic warrior option choice. So it's a close combat weapon with a shooting attack, range 12, strength 5, AP 3, assault 3. It's not a power weapon as it originally was. You have the options to take power weapons instead. You didn't get the options beforehand, really. You had the option of having either a Staff of Light or a War Scythe, and that was it, really. But now you get a few more options, which is very nice. The Necron Overlord has ever-living reanimation protocols, independent character, so you can attach him to whatever unit you want, which is very nice. He also has the option of being upgraded to a Pharaon for 20 points. A Pharaon is essentially a grand leader in terms of lords. So amongst the different worlds and systems of that the Necrons control, you'll have your lords will control your lesser planets, so like your outer rim planets. Then your core worlds planets will be controlled mainly by overlords. However, a Pharaon will control the crown world and all other worlds in that within their span of control. So if a dynasty controls, say, like 20 worlds, they'll have like one crown world or something. The Overlord will be residing there. He's probably the Pharaon, and then he will have other Overlords and Necron Lords report to him, because he'll be the main regent of the area. So what that means in game terms, though, a Pharaon, the Pharaon himself and any unit he's joined have the Relentless special rule, but only as long as he's joined them. So this is only particularly useful on a few units, because other really shooter units, like destroyers, for example, they move quite fast anyway, but their weapons are assault instead of heavy or rapid fire, as they used to be. They used to be heavy weapons, but they could still move and shoot them. So, but yeah, it's useful on if you attach him to Immortals, for example, or even Warriors. Both of those have rapid fire weapons now, as basic. So attach him to those, you can still move and shoot at your full range, which is very nice. I'm trying to think what else you'd be able to attach him to, which would be make much use of that. Probably death marks as well, but I don't know. Death marks are nice to have a bit more mobility, but I'd probably just take a Cryptek with the death marks instead, because who doesn't want them to be able to do stuff with a Cryptek? Another video. Anyway, moving on. So, 20 points for the Pharaon upgrade. His Staff of Light can be exchanged for one of the following. A Hyperphase Sword for free. Hyperphase Sword is just a power weapon. It does nothing else. And that's it. So if you wanted a power weapon instead of the Staff of Light shooting attack, go for it. It's free. Unfortunately, none of the kits have the model. There's the ability to model on one of these options yet. They all come with either the War Scythe Staff of Light looking thing, which will usually have a rod in the middle of it anyway, so you can just use it as either. You can also exchange the Staff of Light for a Gauntlet of Fire if you wanted to. It's 5 points for the option. Gauntlet of Fire, it's not bad. It's a close combat weapon which lets you re-roll fail to hits and to wounds in close combat. Is it? Hang on, let me just check that. Is it just close combat? Yes, just in close combat. Reroll failed rolls hit and to wound in close combat, which is very nice. It also has a Flamer template shooting attack, which is strength 4, AP 5, assault 1. So you can blast the people in cover if you wanted to, and then charge in, re-rolling all failed hits and wounds. It's not a power weapon, but it's decent, I guess. Although you have some better options on the Overlord than the Gauntlet of Fire. If you want the Gauntlet of Fire, if you really wanted the Gauntlet of Fire, and you wanted those Flamer templates, probably just take them on regular Lords, because they have the option to take them as well, and regular Lords are a lot cheaper. The Overlord, he's your big guy. He's going to brutally murder stuff in combat if you let him. So give him a weapon which fits that option. And his last two options for his to exchange his Staff of Light for are either the Void Blade or the War Scythe. Now, there is a bit of a argument between either the Void Blade or the War Scythe. Well, I'm at a bit of an impasse with it, because a Void Blade is very nice. It's a close combat weapon, single-handed close combat weapon, which it's not a power weapon, but it does have rending. It also has Entropic Strike. Now, Entropic Strike is very useful against vehicles, and if against things with wounds, if they take an unsaved wound from it, then they lose their basic armor save. Now, obviously, the rending will help with that immensely. However, that's very less useful in close combat against single wound models. So, if we compare it to the old scenario of what will it do to a tactical squad of 10 guys, Space Marine tactical squad of 10 men, probably kill them, regardless of what you give him. The War Scythe, on the other hand, is a power weapon as basic. Well, it doesn't say power, but it says ignores armor saves in close combat. Yeah, close combat attacks from it ignore armor saves. So yeah, you have the option from the Void Blade. It will sometimes ignore armor saves, but it will, if it does ignore the armor save, it will remove the armor save, and it will lower the armor values of vehicles hit by it sometimes. Well, it's a 4-up, but yeah, you get what I mean. I personally wouldn't give the Void Blade to the Lord. I might give it to Praetorians or regular Necron Lords, because it's very nice to have, but you have Entropic Strike on other things. You can give Entropic Strike to, I think you can give it to Catan. Yes, you can. You can give it to Catan, and Scarabs have it, and it's a very nice rule to have, but probably not best suited on the Lord. I'd just give him the War Scythe for a good reason. It's always a power weapon. It's a two-handed close combat weapon, so you don't get any options for it to bonuses attacks or anything. But then you don't get any pistol weapons available to the Lord anyway, so I don't get how the Void Blade was meant to be particularly useful that way, unless they meant to add it in somewhere. But yeah. What else? The War Scythe will attacks from something with a War Scythe are resolved at +2 bonus strength. So Necron Overlord is strength 7 when he attacks with a War Scythe. He ignores armor saves, and he also does +2d6 armor penetration damage to vehicles. So he's a monstrous creature at strength 7, which if he charges a vehicle, he gets 4 strength 7 monstrous creature kind of attacks, basically. Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't want the War Scythe compared to the Void Blade. I mean, the Void Blade is very nice. You have Entropic Strike, very nice. But then you can take Entropic Strike on other things. So I don't know. I think I just prefer the War Scythe. Take whichever you want, really. I mean, they're both very good options. So take whichever one you want, really. Now we come to the other Wargear options now. So, Wargear options for the Necron Overlord. You can take a Phylactery for 15 points. Phylactery has been changed now. It no longer gives you a number of runes determined on the dice you roll when you get back up, because, well, getting back up has been changed completely. Instead, it's 1 use per game, and instead of getting back up with 1 wound, you get up with D3 wounds, which is, it's a nice thing to have, but then it can completely fail if when you need it to work. So You don't get D3 additional wounds to the one that you get back up with, you just get D3 wounds getting back up instead of just the one. So, it's nice to have, but it's only one use per game, so the first time you would normally go down, that would usually be the time you would get back, that you'd use the phylactery. It's only 15 points, but it means you're a bit more durable. So, what else? Mind Shackle Scarabs, 15 points. Sempiternal Weave for 15 points. Sempiternal Weave is a 2-up save. Mind Shackle Scarabs are a bit different. They are one of the new Wargear options, and they go a little something like this. At the start of the assault phase, after assault moves have been made, but before any blows are struck, randomly select any enemy model in base contact with the bearer of the Mind Shackle Scarabs. The model must immediately pass a leadership test on 3d6. If they pass it, that's fine. Nothing happens. If they fail it, however, the victim has had his mind taken over by the Mind Shackle Scarabs, and he then strikes out at his allies. Not himself, he can never attack himself, but he can attack other members of his squad, or his unit. So instead of attacking normally, he inflicts D3 hits on his own unit when it's his turn to attack. These hits are resolved at the victim's strength and benefit from many abilities and penalties from his close combat weapons. The controller of the Mind Shackle Scarab chooses which, if there is a choice. If you're still alive, the victim returns to normal once all blows in that round of close combat have been struck. So you can Mind Shackle something. That guy will potentially help you in your assault. You then get to make your attacks and kill a bunch of guys. Usually, if you get the chance to, direct your attacks at the guy who's not mind shackling and destroying his guys. So that, well, it depends on the initiative order, obviously, but yeah, you get what I mean. So, what else? Tesseract Labyrinth. Now, 20 points for Tesseract Labyrinth. A Tesseract Labyrinth is only used against monstrous creatures or characters. Okay? So anything which has the character part in their profile. And monstrous creatures. It's one use only, and you sacrifice all of your close combat attacks that round in order to use it. So, you choose a character or monstrous creature in base contact with the bearer. The victim must immediately roll equal to or under its remaining wounds on a d6, or be trapped within the Tesseract Labyrinth forever. Remove as a casualty with no saves of any kind allowed. Obviously the wording there is wrong. If he has failed, he is removed. You're not going to try and argue that other way, because otherwise it would just be stupid. You just kill yourself. So yeah, it's a very nice one-use kind of thing. If you have someone who's a bit unlucky with their dice rolls, then it's very nice to just go up to one of the big prized monstrous creatures. Say, like, if you're fighting Tyranids, this can be very useful, because I think you can also give this to regular Necron Lords as well. And well, I'll go through the roll court at a separate time, but it's very useful to have for that reason. So you can just go up to one of their big monstrous creatures, say like the Swarm Lord, for example. Very nasty bug in combat. Go up to the Swarm Lord, use a Tesseract Labyrinth, and then he has the potential to just pop out of existence. Well, he's sucked into the Tesseract Labyrinth. It's the gateway to a pocket dimension. So you just capture the Swarm Lord in a Pokeball, basically. Wow, that's an amazing idea that's come to my head. The Necrons are Pokemon trainers now. That's brilliant. What else? Last three options of Wargear for the Necron Overlord. Resurrection Orb for 30 points. Resurrection Orb has been changed a bit now that getting back up has been changed. Instead of always allowing the reanimation, because it happens anyway, instead allows reanimation protocols to be passed on a 4-up by the bearer of the Resurrection Orb and any unit he's joined. So that's very nice. There's a lot of stuff in this codex which requires you to attach special characters or other HQ choices to lesser units in order to get the most effectiveness out of their war gear. Which is fair enough. I mean, most Necron players, I would expect, as they go on, will generally try and get almost all of the HQ choices, because they all have their uses, and they can all be very powerful in what they do, and you'll want to attach them to units to get the best use out of them, and empower your own units. You can have a Phase Shifter for 45 points. Phase Shifter is a 3-up invuln. Very nice, very good for survivability. And you can have a Tachyon Arrow for 30 points. A Tachyon Arrow is a single-use shooting attack. Basically, think of it like a Hunter-Killer missile. Range infinite, strength 10, AP 1, assault 1. Used once per game. So you have a very annoying tank all the way over across the board from you. You're not going to reach it turn 1. Bang. It's dead before it can reach you. Say like a Lehman Russ Punisher or Executioner or whatever. Or a very big Land Raider with lots of horrible stuff on it. Or just something particularly annoying. You shoot it with a Tachyon Arrow, boom, it'll probably be dead. Strength 10, very easy to penetrate, and then you'll get bonus to the result with the AP 1, so a wreck is likely a lot of the time. Or at least immobilised. And that's the Necron Overlord, really. He's a beast in combat if you give him the War Scythe. Some very good survivability options. Oh, right, I forgot about this. You can give him a dedicated transport in the form of the Catacomb Command Barge. Will I go through the Catacomb Command Barge now? No, I'll leave that to another video. I'll go through the dedicated transports in their own video. What else was I do? Oh yeah, Destroyer Lord. Destroyer Lord is your other choice of Lord, who isn't some form of special character. Destroyer Lord is 125 points. Whereas the Necron Overlord is cheaper and you can give him more supporting options, the Destroyer Lord is pretty much solely for close combat. And you'll just want to put him down and just throw him at a very expensive enemy unit and just watch him cause havoc, really. In the fluff destroyers, and particularly Destroyer Lords, they don't care for reuniting the colonies and empire of the Necrons. They just see all lesser beings as opponents ready for slaughter. They don't care who they're killing. Well, they just view the lesser beings or lesser life forms other than Necrons as something to squash before the Necrons if they turn to the Necrons. So anyone who employs the Destroyer Lord in terms of fluff and lore and stuff does so cautiously, or if there's a particularly annoying enemy and they just want them dead and slaughtered in the most brutal way possible, the Destroyer Lord will be your choice there. So, the Destroyer Lord, 125 points, weapon skill, ballistic skill 4, strength 5, toughness 6, 3 wounds, initiative 2, 3 attacks, leadership 10 and a 3-up save. Unit composition 1, just himself. Jump infantry character, so he will zoom across the field and is just gonna wreck shit. He's just gonna be crazy. He has War Scythe as basic. He has ever-living, independent character and reanimation protocols. He also has preferred enemy, which with a War Scythe and toughness 6 makes him kind of deadly. Strength 7, re-rolling failed hits. Yes, please. Ignoring armor saves and toughness 6 so that you just resist all enemy attacks beforehand and then slaughter them is brilliant. Actually, the way that this Necron Codex approaches close combat in terms of its big beefy characters is kind of like the Alucard way of close in combat. Let the enemy wail on you for a bit and then turn around and own their face. So, his war gear options. For free, he can exchange his War Scythe for a Gauntlet of Fire. You don't really need this, really, because you already reroll failed hits. Rerolling failed wounds at the expense of your War Scythe is not so good. Staff of Light for free, don't bother, if I'm brutally honest. And a Void Blade for 5 points. Depends if you really want a Void Blade. I probably wouldn't go with the Void Blade, I'd just go with the War Scythe. Kill everything. Although it has to be said, with the Void Blade, the Destroyer Lord is going to rend a lot more, because he can simply reroll failed hits. So you're going to get the chance to get a few more rending wounds than you would normally, which is nice. But I'd just keep him with the War Scythe, keep him cheap. And then he can take a Sempiternal Weave for a 2-up save at 15 points. Mind Shackle Scarabs at 20 points as opposed to 15, but then he's brutal in combat anyway, so Mind Shackle Scarabs can be a bit overkill sometimes, unless you're going for like a larger squad. Say you're going against Assault Terminators, for example, and you want one of them to just turn around and clobber stuff with his hammer to help you out a bit, because you only have 4 attacks on the charge, so any help you can get is quite nice. Tachyon Arrow for 30 points, probably not all that worth it on the Destroyer Lord, to be fair. He wants to be assaulting things all the time. If you have the Tachyon Arrow, you're going to shoot something, and if you don't kill it, then you're going to have to assault that unit. And you can't shoot something then assault a different unit, unfortunately, with the current rules as they are. So yeah, if you're going to have it, make sure you have a big target for it, so that if you don't kill it outright with the Tachyon Arrow, then you can just charge in and carve it in twain with your big War Scythe, or Void Blade, whichever one you choose. And finally, Resurrection Orb of 30 points, very nice option. In terms of units you could attach him to, probably Wraiths would be the best option, because they're also jump infantry, and they're a close combat unit. And Wraiths have rending and stuff anyway, and strength 6. So actually that's a rather decent option there, because Wraiths have the option of getting a thing called Whip Coils, which reduce the enemy's base initiative, or they count an enemy's base initiative as 1. So you're going to charge in, you're going to completely destroy them with a unit of Wraiths led by a Destroyer Lord. So that is a very powerful close combat unit, just charging across the battlefield and just cleaving their way through everything. And that will do it for Necron Overlords and Destroyer Lords. Next time I will be going into basic regular Lords and Cryptex and pretty much all of the Royal Court, which will be another long video. This video is already like 30 minutes long already, so with that I bid you adieu. Until next time, signing out.